Hey, folks, it is pretty gosh darn close to 6 p.m. Eastern, so I'm starting the YouTube stream, which is where the playbacks get hosted. So I will do the top of the hour announcement stuff. So, first off, there is the perpetual evergreen announcement that there will be a live single breakdown interview studio chat happening on stream as soon as Magoo locks in their single release, which is looking like at the end of January. And as soon as I have an actual date on that, we will schedule that. And I want to blow it up because it's really, really cool stuff. It's a really great record, and the single is awesome. I'm just, happy to be a part of it. That's happening. Announcement one. Other thing, rule of the stream, keep chat positive and, constructive feedback. We have a lot of stuff that's like people's first mixes ever, or people that do lots and lots of stuff, but they are sending in like demos and rough mixes. And it's just really awesome to have that stream of information. It's really cool to hear all that stuff. So I want to make sure that it just stays a place where people feel comfortable doing that. So that's like the only rule. The last, we had a huge night on Monday, a huge night last night, and basically, it's way more fun when there's like a bunch of people in here and a bunch of tracks to listen to from all sorts of different styles. It's just, I mean, it's legitimately really, really fun. So, the more that people share the link and everything, that is greatly appreciated, and it helps out the stream immensely. I do what I can, but it's one thing to be someone going like, "I'm great, check this out," and it's another thing to have people say that it's cool. So I appreciate everyone who shares the stuff. It is awesome. Let's see, Magoo, be nice to each other, share the link, and then Patreon shout out that happens at the beginning. From here on out, there is on Twitch there is a promo tab, and people who support the Patreon will be able to send me links to whatever it is that they would like to highlight on the promo page, and I will point people to that promo page. So that exists right there, and it's at like www.atonuv.com/audio/promo is where you can see the people, and they also get their daily Patreon shout out. So huge thanks to Tyler, Ian, Elias, Mason, and Synux. Big ol' thank yous. Yeah, that's it. That is the housekeeping. I think I managed to run through that in like just a couple minutes. That's pretty good. Getting faster. There is I'm gonna do a weekly weekly Spotify playlist. It's just music that I think is cool. For fun. And that's in the Twitch tabs. So I'll update it on Fridays. So I put the last one up last night. It's just cool music. And as I do it, it'll probably turn into a structured thing where I can like point people to a specific track and go like, "Isn't this cool in the mix?" So jumping off point. Also, I'd like to get an additional community generated playlist. So if anyone who comes on the stream regularly wants to make a playlist that and then we can rotate out with other people, and then it can be side by side with mine, because mine also definitely reads like, this is the playlist of a 30-something-year-old dude. So let's get some other perspectives in there. Let's all listen to some cool music, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just a fun thing. Fun announcement. Fun announcement. And folks, this is a Ton of Open Studio. I am an audio engineer who is here every single night starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. And this is purely dedicated to getting folks feedback on their mixes. You could be doing your first recordings ever, or you are a grizzled veteran looking for new perspectives on your mix, or absolutely anything in between. Any genre, any style, so on and so forth. And if you are catching this on Facebook, it's really cool to have you here. But please note that I really do like to. What's fun here is that I like to ask people questions about how they're recording, what their setup's like, and how they're thinking about their mix. And it's just way easier to chat on Twitch, which is at twitch.tv/Atonuv, or the Atonuv streaming YouTube channel, which is on the YouTube has like a 30-40 second delay on it, so it's not perfect. But also my email, you can reach me there, and I check that throughout the night. But I do basically have to ignore Facebook, just with chat is clunky, it's slow, won't necessarily notify me, so on and so forth. And happy Saturday to everybody. It is snowing a lot where I'm at. That's pretty cool. Keeping it easy. Little snow day. And yeah, this is it. Just going to kind of hang out, wait for some folks to get in. Generally speaking, the pattern is first off, it's been like a solid week with Monday was really, really great. And then last night, really, really good. And then solid in between. So, it does fill me with enthusiasm to come here every single day, that we get a cool group of people and, new stuff. Feels good. Happy camper is me. If you are working on something and would like for me to play it and get you some fresh feedback for your mix, it's stuff that's focused on the technical details of what you're going to do to move stuff around, make some tweaks, some techniques to increase the goodness of your mix. We can go through all of that. And yeah, that's it. I just react Andy to mixes. This is the way. This is the stream. If you're catching this on Facebook, please note that, like it says in the description, I really rarely accurately get chat notifications from Facebook, and I do like to actually talk to people about their mixes and stuff. So best way to do it is head over to Twitch, twitch.tv/Atonuv, or the Atonuv streaming YouTube channel, which is also good, but the chat, sometimes it delays up to 30 or 40 seconds. So, not perfect, but it works. Or you can email me at atonuvrecords@gmail.com. And yeah, that's it. It's cool to have folks here. So, yeah, I just basically run through the deal and the spiel until people show up. So, probably like anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes of this. But basically, this is a ton of open studio. I'm Scott. I'm an audio engineer. I do this every single night. It starts around 6 p.m. Eastern every single night. If you have been working on a mix and would like some fresh perspective on what you're doing, you can just send that on over to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. It's the email right there at the bottom of the video. There are guidelines for sending in stuff scrolling across the top of the page. Please give those a read. Um, if you are catching this on Facebook, I try to make it clear in the description and stuff. I basically can't check Facebook chat and like with the flow of everything. Once there's folks in here sending in tracks and stuff, uh, the Twitch chat works best because I like to like real time talk through like people's rooms and their philosophy and what they're going for, and try to get like beyond like surface level stuff. And the Twitch chat works best for that. So I basically have to hyper prioritize that. So if you're catching this somewhere else, I definitely recommend heading over to the Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/Atonuv. There's also the Atonuv streaming YouTube channel, which is also good, but chat can get delayed by like 30 or 40 seconds there. And sometimes in the middle of like figuring out exactly where to put your monitors in your room or something like that, it can be a little bit weird, but it does work. And then also email will work in a pinch. Hey, folks, it's Saturday. It's great to be here. This is a ton of open studio. I'm Scott. I'm an audio engineer, and I do this every single night starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. This is a open studio format where folks can send in mixes, any genre, any stage of production. We get demos, rough mixes, middle mixes where it's like, where do I go from here? Final mixes and masters. And I take a listen to them, play them on stream, and help you dial in some technical feedback. Try not to get too vague, too like, ooh, it's muddy. None of that. It's like, let's let's cut the guitar at 220. Stuff like that. Try to be direct. Try to be helpful. And it'll spiral into what's your workflow, how are you going about this mix, what's up with your room, so on and so forth. So it's a pretty full service audio live stream. That's what it is. The beginnings of the night are basically this. If you are catching this for the first time, or if you've never caught the beginning before, I just describe the stream over and over so that lurkers and anonymous Andes like go like, oh, this is what's happening. If you are catching this on Facebook, as I'm sorry, but I do spam Facebook with this stream because we get like 2 or 3 people a night that come off of Facebook and join the stream. And I think it's worth it because we hear some good stuff, and it's always cool to hear something new. So If you're watching this on Facebook, I'm super happy you're here. I'm super happy you're watching. But with the way that Facebook comment notifications work and everything like that, it's just a pretty miserable way to chat and dial in stuff throughout the stream. So I basically have to ignore Facebook while I do this. So if you want to send me something, send it to my email. And to chat and ask questions and like do the whole interactive thing, I definitely recommend heading over to Twitch. Chat is basically real time. It's twitch.tv/Atonuv. If you don't have access to Twitch, then there is a YouTube channel. It's Atonuv Streaming, and that works. Chat is delayed by like 30 seconds, so sometimes there's some like gaps and silences, but that's fine. There's like gaps and silences right now. I think that's basically it. That's the cycle. I'm really looking forward to hearing, some great tracks. It has been really, really fun. The last week has been a great source of music, and then the stream in general has been excellent for me. Like so far, I started doing this in the middle of the summer, did quite a few, and then had to pause because of some internet problems. But I got that all dialed in, and I think that this is day 33 in a row, and it's been really, really good stuff. Happy to do it. Just many, many hours of music and streaming, and countless hours of explaining the stream once or twice or three times. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if you're just popping in, this is Atonuv Open Studio. I am Scott. I'm an audio engineer. I do this every single night, starting around 6 p.m. Eastern. And the way this works is people who are working on music and mixing in any sort of genre or style, and during any part of the production process, we're talking about rough demos, mixes, mixes that you've spent a while on, but you're not sure where to take it, final mixes, masters, all of that can get sent to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. I'll give it a listen and help steer you in, a new direction or give you some feedback and perspective on what could get moved around to, increase that perceived loudness and clarity and get your mix and, moves to serve the mix, to serve the song. And then there is a lot of opportunity to talk about how you're recording, how your process could improve, or if your process rules, happy to celebrate the things that are awesome. That's how it works. Now, because it is just way more fun, I don't just like play something and then go like, yeah, it's great, or nah, it's trash, bro, or whatever. Ian, what's up? I'm explaining the stream over and over. uh and then final thing, if you're watching this on Facebook, thank you for watching, and it's great to have you watching, but as I noted, it's cool. Squadlum, thanks for the follows. Hope y'all are doing good. But yeah, Facebook people, really cool to have you here, but like Facebook chat and like the comments and stuff, it's just no fun to do. So head over to Twitch, in short. I would so I've kind of talked about it a little bit. Um I have some stuff that I'm compiling to do some like mix things on. And I'm getting permission from people that I've done stuff for. And I'm also down to do like samples of other people's stuff. It's this thing where since I hate so there's like there's Scott Murphy, audio engineer, mastering engineer that does this professionally, and then there's the Happy Fun Time stream, where I try not to be too like businessy, and I don't want to cross the streams too much, because I feel like that I'm gonna risk doing my job for free. So I'm trying to figure out exactly how to format it, but I am trying to figure out I'm trying to figure out how to do it in a way that will be fun and like fun to watch. So it's like I have to kind of like prepare a session, because otherwise it's a lot of me just going like, oh yeah, I'm setting up this thing, so on and so forth. So that's like a very long answer to a short question, which I don't know is kind of thematic for what happens here. But yeah, Forzy and Shrivel Skin, good names. Are you working on any mixes? Yeah, I don't want to be too much of a wiener about it. I hope that didn't sound too wienery. It's just like that delicate line because it's like before I do the stream, I'm like working on stuff, and then the stream is like this is like my fun hang time, uh, and as it and also I don't because I kind of started prepping some mixes and some stems, but like as of now, like there's kind of like 4 or 5 people in at a time, and I think it's really awesome. And I love doing the like one-on-one chat and like going through people's tracks and like getting detailed and all that. But like mixing for like 2 people sounds like a huge amount of work for like kind of like so I think that it'll be easier for me to wrap my head around how to do it like once the peak concurrent viewership is a little bit higher. But Ian, how is every did you wrap up that mix? Yeah, the Cambridge stem that falls into like a weird zone of like you can do it for educational purposes, but like educational purposes is like almost too broad, and too narrow of what it could or couldn't be. Dope. Yeah, that's awesome. I don't worry about that. I'm just happy that you did it, dude. That rules. Yeah, drum comping is I'm not sure what the workflow is like on Reaper for that. It's luckily not bad on Studio One. Um so I don't know, like good for me, I guess. But yeah, you gotta watch out for those cymbals and it helps to kind of like line everything up beforehand and then just razor blade it for hours. Yeah, I mean, I think that drums always, well, I mean, more often than not, they need to get like that extra little bit of time aligning, and I also just think that it's best to do it by hand. Like more often than not, you can get like that exact nudge that you're looking for. And drum sandwich. Drum sandwich is actually like like kind of like a common enough conundrum where I mean like one of the whole reasons that I have a space is so there's an album that I've been working on for um 3 years at this point, kind of in varying states of production and heaviness, but my and then like now I play in the band, but it's like the songwriter did most of the beginning stages of stuff like on a, and luckily they're a very very good audio engineer, but they also did like everything in their bedroom. So it was like, okay, we got like a lot of like bedroom stuff to handle, but the songs are really good and everything is, pretty solid, but we got to get live drums. So there's a whole period of like kind of taking everything apart, and then went to a like a big studio and did the drums, but then we wound up not liking them very much, so I built a drum room and then did the takes, and they were better but they weren't perfect, so then I rebuilt the drum room again, and now I've got, and like long story short, I've got a really 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 perfect drum room. And it uh like even thinking about it makes me exhausted, just the amount that went into doing it. And then I feel a little pain of regret because like I put the finishing touches on it like right at the like last February. So I was like, "Oh, like this is it. This is perfect. I got this live room just absolutely dialed. Like anything can get popped in here and I could just put a microphone on it and it sounds good." Uh like the absolute dream. And then everything stopped happening for the foreseeable future. Uh, yeah. Drums on drums though. Drums on drums and drums on drums. And then on top of it, it's like that record got finished and now like the release is gonna get pushed back until touring is possible because it's pointless to have spent uh 1,000 days on something and then not tour it, etc., etc., etc. And I am not salty in any like little tiny bit. Happy to be here. But it's like a very real thing. Like you gotta like the entire mix is all about the drums. So like it just comes down to if the drums aren't sitting right, then yeah, you have to do them again. And then if they're still not quite right, you got to do them again because you just can't mix around it. And I would, it comes down to getting it at the source and getting the room and going from there. I've never used a cymbal sample. That's like the it's like the it's like the only thing that you have to you could replace the entire kit, but the cymbals just kind of always are going to unless you've I've just never I've never put myself in that situation where it's like I got to replace the cymbals. Try to get a decent capture on those. It's just cymbal samples sound weird and they just never feel right. I mean like unless it's like uh yep. Well, okay, so recording the cymbals and getting the live feel of the cymbals, that's different than like just like a sample replacement of cymbals, I guess. So like recording every single and that's like also like my classic example would be Joy Division, Love Will Tear Us Apart. Every single piece of the drum kit is tracked separately. And so like huge separation and like that very, very, very unique drum sound. Um, and once again, yeah, songs for the deaf. I'm very familiar with it, but also like I'm just like right outside of the age range where that means something to me, like on an emotional level. I'm like, yeah, 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 it's cool. But like if someone says Joy Division, I go like, oh yeah, 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 I know absolutely every single part of it inside and out. But the concept is the same. So makes a super unique texture on the recording, that giant separation, kind of drum machine like. But the necessary thing about it is that it has even though every single thing is separately recorded and separately treated, so on and so forth, it's that human touch on like cymbals and hats that is really, 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 really important. And it's like, even when you're doing, like, it's what kind of differentiates like a solid hip hop mix from something that's just kind of like, you just kind of threw that together, where you round robin the hats so that they're just slightly different from hit to hit. And that gets rid of a whole lot of that like rigidness and amateurness on stuff like that. So I guess if you're ever in a situation where you would have to replace the cymbals, then I would say like physically record them with a person would be like prime option number one, and then if that fails, then it's like do sample replacement, but try to get varying samples to do it. But there's also just so much to, like, if you can get the I mean the like I don't know, to just like quote and think, but like CLA uh routinely says that the overheads are the picture of the kit. And in many ways that's true. I mean, it's the stereo image, it's the heart and the soul of the thing, and you can squeeze so much information out of your overheads. The way that the kit is hitting the room, and the way that the room is responding to the kit is such a giant part of a drum sound. Like, I mean, like any Led Zeppelin track is like a whole just like dissertation in exactly that, and we want that in the recording. So then we grab like the wood and the tone from close mics. So I just think that to get like, especially on like a rock record, like if we're just talking about rock records, which is sometimes what I'm just talking about because it's how I think, is uh is like getting a solid overhead recording on the drums, and the drums shape the entire nature of the recording. Which is to say, like, be incredibly neurotic about the drums because they'll kind of like make or break your recording. Not to put too much pressure on it. And folks, for anyone just popping in, this is a Ton of Open Studio. I'm Scott. I'm an audio engineer. I'm here every single night, starting around 6 p.m. Eastern. If you've been working on a mix and would like some fresh perspective on it, you can send it to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. Uh, Ruse, cool to see you again. And to finish the spiel, you can send an email. There are some rules and regulations and guidelines for how to send, what to send, why to send it up at the top of the screen. And if you're on Facebook, it's really awesome to have you. Thank you for watching. But if you would like to send something in or like ask questions or anything like that, definitely head over to Twitch, twitch.tv/Atonuv. Chat is way easier there, and I can actually like tell you stuff. Haven't used Arc. Cool. Thanks, Ruse. Yeah, so that's the IK. Yeah, I can't personally speak on it. Haven't used it. Haven't like looked too far into it. All right, I'm gonna mute this for a second. This'll get me clapped. But I'll bring it back after we get past the. Okay, cool. Sorry, I had to just mute that. It's sometimes it like I'll get my entire stream muted and then like YouTube I can delete it, but then they penalize me on like the SEO and then my reach is decreased and then I get censored by big tech, etc., etc. So sorry for muting you. But yeah, that's really cool. Uh, so it's a really solid mix. I just have two comments on it. There's like a baritone bass voice that comes in every now and then, and it's a bit roomy and woofy in the low mids, and it's kind of unsticking it from the mix in a kind of peculiar way. And I would want to just dial in on that, like we're talking like between like 200 and 300 on that vocal. It's just a little bit uh, roomy, just to put it out there. Now, the other thing is a thing that once you hear it, it'll ruin your life for forever. But because this is so vocal heavy, like 8 vocal layers, this is all just adding up and adding up and adding up, and it's going to be, um, it's unpleasant. There's a lot of mechanical noise from the mouths. And it's the sound of like lip smacks, your tongue moving, your jaw clicking, like your esophagus like churning up and down, and it's just like really, really, really present in the mix. And eventually, everyone like learns to hear this, and then it ruins your life. Um, so it's the way to solve it is like microphone technique. So it's like, and like, there's actually like a lot of it right now because I'm just like on an SM7B, and so it's a pretty notorious mic for getting like a lot of this. So like lip smack and all that. But in the recording session, you would want to back off like you know like that, pop filter, and also aim slightly away from the mouth, like, aim a little bit towards the forehead or a little bit towards the throat, depending on the voice and depending on what sounds best. Now, if you've got a take and it's just full of mouth click, then what you got to do I mean, you can go in and find every single mouth quick, and then you can do waveform correction within your DAW, and it is a pain in the ass, and not every single DAW is friendly about it. Pro Tools is probably the best, but even then, you have to go in and zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and just draw waves on your waves. Quickest answer is Isotope RX Mouth Declick. Now, I have it loaded up here. Okay, so I've got Mouth Declick here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And so now it's just declicking my mouth. Okay. So the cool thing about this plugin is, first off, it works great and it'll get rid of these clicks and pops. But so that you can understand like what is going on in your mix, what I'm hearing just like every few seconds. So this plugin, you can set it so that it only outputs mouth clicks. And this is just what's all over the so yeah, that's just like that's what the mix has just a ton of, just like those snap, pop, pop, tongue gargling things happening, and I would just want to get rid of those because it's like it's a very good mix. It's fun. Um, yeah, that is what it's for. But you need to. So the number one uh, I think that the best tool in the toolbox to do this is RX Mouth Declick. It's just specifically targeted. Oh yeah, and then gaining up the mic is also going to increase its pickup of that stuff. And yeah, like once you start to, like once you hear it, it just kind of ruins your life for forever because you can hear it in everything after that, and it's just like you just gotta get rid of it. There's like X Click from Waves, and I think it's okay. Um, but RX Mouth Declick gets the job done, and that's like all I have to say about the mix. So it's like there's the baritone bass thing. It's a little bit unstuck in the low mids, and then this like mouth clicking stuff. Oh yeah. I mean, I would use Isotope over Waves any day. I just don't know what you have because the Isotope can be spendy, and there's an Isotope. There's a declick, and then there's mouth declick. Mouth declick is the tool for the job. Yeah, and the EQ, it's just look out for it's in that 200 to 300 region. It's just a bit and like dB and a half, um, like wide bell. And four, okay, great. If anyone is popping in, this is a ton of open studio. I'm here every single night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Provide you audio engineering feedback on your mix. If you are working on anything, any style, any genre, happy to take a listen. If If you're catching this on Facebook, thank you for watching. It's awesome to have you here, but please note that Facebook comments and stuff, I just won't get the notifications like accurately or ever, depending on how Zuck is feeling at that moment. So head on over to Twitch. Cool. Here is the track.
Turning out their pockets as I burn it in my racket, and my urges tell me stop it. Be a hermit for the profit, star bursting, clear the top is straight. Bourbon to a droplet, you a serpent. I'm a goblin, you a person. I am cosmic, you a serpent. I will knock you, I was short, but I was not it. I would feel I was alone. I adore how y'all would knock it. I ignore the forms of logic I performed. I mourn the novice I was for. I formed the topic, paper torn, and born the product. Make some more gorgeous comments, constellations, soaring comets, age of war, rewards, deposits, waging forth. I storm exotic, break the board, demolish, brain is soaring. Lorman's noggin came from port to port, and honesty from the court to melodics.
Quick astronomy lesson. What you're looking at here is a meteorite. That came from our solar system, basically our own intergalactic backyard. And get this, once it got here, it behaved in ways that scientists can't quite explain.
I think that one day they may actually land on the White House lawn and announce their existence. However, we have to be careful, but let's hope they are peaceful.
I'm the son of organic compounds, absorb magic orgasms and forced marriage. Polaris, a terrorist character to normal. Tragic forming habits, automatic, break them like guitar shatter. Set the bar, ladders, I'm checking the data. The black box is damaged, I'm off in the meter. I'm off in the deep in the fucking up giants. There's double my stature, I'm leaving them finished, completely diminished. Come get this on video, put it on internet. Let me know when they start getting it. Maybe I'll come back to earth and they stop putting content. Profits in pockets and nonsense, peddlers, bitch, I am cosmic. Cosmic.
Cool track. Just a couple of things. So that the vocal effect at the very beginning, it's a little heavy. It's pretty aggressive, and I would just dial it back like a click, like in the mix. There's also it's like super panned out too, and then it actually sounds better in mono because it's collapsing all of the high end information, and that's where it's like a little too gritty. So it's like phased out, but then it's like very rarely when something is phased out do I go like, oh yeah, that's better. So it's just a thing that could maybe get dialed in a little bit more, but also it's a creative effect, so I don't want to like be too heavy-handed on telling you what to do. But be aware. The bass could get fattened up considerably in that 100 to 200 region, and it's also stepping on the kick a bit. I'm thinking that there's probably you could take away some stuff on the bass at like 60 and then give it the fat from 100 to 200, and then the kick could come in at 60, or you could drop that kick down a bit into like 40 or 50. There's just infinite room there on the mix. And just it would be great to have like some oomph.
Quick astronomy lesson. What you're looking at here is a meteorite.
Yeah. I mean, so it's only phasing on the high end of the vocal, and also phasing on the high end is generally speaking not that big of a deal on a modern mix. We're just more concerned about phasing on low end, and in many mixes, I mean, there are two examples. I just use the same examples for everything all of the time because then it keeps my brain in order. But like, okay, the new Tame Impala, huge phasing issues, like lead instruments disappear. But whatever, people like it, and so it's like, on that hand, it's like, is it that big of a deal anymore? But on the other hand, the latest Saint Vincent record, which is like super pop, super poppy, it is basically identical in stereo and mono. It's like perfectly controlled. So like within modern mixing templates, there is extreme phasing allowed, and also there are examples of just absolute perfect phase correlation. So mileage may vary. But it's more like, what I'm more concerned about is that it just definitely sounds better in mono. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, I would say that there isn't an industry standard on phasing right now. I would say that there isn't. There are you can go through. There are many things that are. You could go and like, this is a thing that happens. This is a thing that happens. But phase correlation, like especially up top, phase correlation below 200, yes, absolutely. But you can go through things from the last 10 years, the last 20 years, 30 years, and it's really going to depend on the artist and the mixer and how much they cared about it. It's very, very, very up in the air. Yeah, so fatten out that low end, consider maybe dialing back that vocal effect at the beginning. Kick and bass could get separated. And then it's like really good, really clear, big clarity. And yeah, I mean, same thing. I'm going to keep, unless you're like only uploading to Spotify. And I mean, you could release mono and stereo mixes. Well, okay, actually, here's the that's actually like kind of questionable. And so I'm kind of a unified field theory adherent of like mixing and mastering. Like, you make the thing and it is the thing, and then it's format agnostic and it goes everywhere and it'll be like good. No, okay, I don't want to. I'm like joking. I'm joking. Sometimes it's hard. It's text. I'm talking, and then I'm always afraid that I'm going to sound like a dick. So, because I'm the talky man with the megaphone. So, the thing about like the mono to stereo bridging in the 60s is that all home stereos were mono for the first half of the 60s, like up to 65, 66. So it's like notably like the Beatles prints are where you have like mono and stereo mixes. And the fact of the matter is that the Beatles, because by the time that stereo was a thing in home studios, the Beatles were like old. They were in their late 20s, and they grew up on mono, and they recorded all of their first things on mono. And then when it was time for stereo, they truly did not give a shit about what the stereo imaging was and what the stereo thing, like, it's a surprisingly conservative stance from the Beatles. Like, for like all of the like, oh, we're gonna do this and we're gonna drop a microphone in water, and we're gonna be the first band ever to close mic drums, to the point where it was a huge like industry kerfuffle. Like, it was controversial, and everyone was like, "Are you gonna break our microphones?" And Abbey Road engineers at the time literally wore lab coats. Okay, so the Beatles were incredibly conservative about what stereo was in the world. They did not care. You would think that they'd be all about it, like, oh, we can make a sound go from here to there. It'll be amazing. It'll be wacky. Didn't give a shit. It just didn't. They didn't get it. They didn't want it. So those Beatles stereo mixes are honestly like the first iterations of them. They're like bad. They're bad mixes. And I kind of hate listening to, like, I love the Beatles and I'll reference them all the time, but those stereo mixes are kind of like bad. The like there's a drum kit on the right side and a bass on the other. It's bad. It's like bad mix, bro. And I don't think that it's like cute or like a throwback way to mix something. I just kind of think it's bad. And I think that it sometimes when people like uh okay, I will agree to disagree. The so I guess the thing is that I think that when people reference those is like, oh, this is a cool idea to do with stereo. I think that if you're gonna do it, you have to do it um with the full understanding that the reason that those mixes are that way is because the Beatles did not give a shit. And then they just went like, yeah, sure, put the drums on one side, do whatever, and they weren't like part of the process. So like just be aware that they didn't care. Uh but yeah, which one specifically? It's like the revolver on up. And then I think that they like actually kind of fixed it in the newest releases that George Martin's son did. I think that that has like some actual stereo imaging. Sorry to be controversial, and Ian, I am sorry for I don't want to yuck your yum. I'm never here to yuck a yum. Um yeah, it bothers me when I hear that's personal. That's a personal thing. That's my personal like hang up on the thing. Yeah, yeah, like super ballsy, but it wasn't like it wasn't the result of a bold artistic decision. It was the result of like just literally going like I don't see what the big deal about stereo is and then leaving the room. Uh so it's kind of funny. But this was a there was a whole thing. There's a reason that I started bagging on the Beatles. Um oh, stereo standards in the industry are, you know, debatable. Um oh, ruse. Unless you are only planning on uploading these to Spotify, they have to be louder. Uh if you want to like send this to like a label or uh you know, yeah, the real issue is phasing, but also some major label releases have big phasing in the top end and some don't. And it's not the thing. So like but anyway, issue at hand. If you were going to send this track to like a label, a radio station, A&R, like whatever, or like print it on a physical release and even arguably upload it to Spotify, but that's debatable. Uh they'll just think it's too soft and they'll go like they won't get the Fletcher Munson. They won't get the loudness is better. You're going to bite yourself in the butt. These have to be louder. And then even in situations where it's like, yes, they turn it down, but you get the perceived loudness of more average loudness happening at the same time. And there was I mean, if you're just uploading to Spotify and nothing else, and this file is touching nothing other than Spotify, sure, maybe. But if this is going to go live anywhere else in the world, no bueno. And Mason, I missed stuff from you. YouTube link. All right, that's funny. Oh, 4Z. Cool. I just got your track. Yeah, I just downloaded it. And give me. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. You haven't missed anything, I don't think, unless you were here for something incredibly specific. We're still here. Um, and yeah, Ruse, absolutely happy to listen to your stuff anytime. Love having you on. Your stuff is cool. So 4Z, these vocals aren't yours? Oh, dang. Well, your song is good. Which one was it? Ruse sent in two. Okay, 4Z, I'm gonna mute the stream and play it. It just makes my life miserable when I have to deal with the copyright robots. I mean, if you want to send me a mix that doesn't have the vocals, sure. But I can also I'm listening to it right now, so I can kind of, if you want to send me one so that I can play it on the stream and then I can imagine the vocals on it. Thanks for the follow. Cool. For the cool track, I can basically tell you what's going on with it, like as is, but also you can feel free to send something. That's cool. Cool, cool, cool. So for anyone joining in, this is a ton of open studio. I'm here every single night starting at about 6 p.m. Eastern. If you've been working on a mix and would like some fresh perspective on it, you can feel free to send it to my email. It's atonuvrecords@gmail.com. There are guidelines up at the top of the screen if you want to give those a read before you do. Happy to listen to anything, any genre, any style, any stage of production. If you're watching this on Facebook, thanks for watching. It's really cool to have you here. But as noted in the description and stuff, if you want to like send me something or ask questions or anything like that, definitely head over to Twitch, twitch.tv/Atonuv. It's just way easier to chat with people. It's real time. I don't have to look for comment notifications, etc., etc., etc. Cool, cool, cool. Mm-hmm. All right, so we're just waiting on a track to upload. If anyone is watching and wants to send something in, feel free. Email's at the bottom of the screen. All right. Downloaded. All right. All right, there we go. Okay. Um, Tell me about where uh where do you want to upload this? What's your purpose with the track? Okay. So the mix is good. What's your monitoring system like? What are you listening on? How are you set up? Okay, and you don't You don't have monitor speakers at all. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. So basically, the only thing that is not your mix is really good above like 200 hertz, and there's just you're really you're cranking up like lots of stuff um, from like 30 to 80, and there's also not a lot of definition between elements down there. It's just kind of like an oppressive wall of stuff down there, and that's like really normal on mixes that are done on headphones or small monitors without a sub or a room that isn't treated and stuff like that. You're basically pushing your system past its efficiency point so that it sounds balanced and it sounds like it has a big low end on like headphones or something like that. But as far as translatability on like a large system or a system that has reproducible bass, it'll be like really out of hand at that point. And also, you're robbing yourself of the headroom and the definition of getting more perceivable low end in in spots where it could live. So like there's just like the kick is like tuned up pretty high. It's at like 120, 130. And then there's just like a lot of fighting with sub bass and kick. So we've got like a pretty like it's a very present kick, but it doesn't have any like push. It's just kind of getting eaten by bass, and bass is getting eaten by kick, and they're just kind of fighting in this region. And then it's just generally like really overrepresented in that like 30 to 80. And then we could like put that energy into other places in the mix, and then it'll like translate more better across a wider variety of systems. And then it's solid. Like up from there, it's balanced. Everything is well represented, has great separation, has clarity, and it sounds good. So, you know, your mix is really great everywhere that you can accurately hear it. Yeah, no worries. You can send it to atonuvrecords@gmail.com, or you can type exclamation point email in Twitch. So like it's a great mix, and you're great at mixing everywhere that you're like accurately hearing your mix. The other thing that I'm going to talk about. So first off, this is clipping a lot. You're getting 4 dB over true peaks. So like your limiter is failing you, or what is more likely is that you are punishing your limiter and pushing everything into it, and it just can't handle it. And you can do it on SoundCloud. SoundCloud doesn't have any, like, it doesn't do anything. And yeah, people do it for sure. And it's a case of like, yeah, it's a platform. SoundCloud has blown many a laptop speaker because of its non-adherence to any sort of form or function in as far as like loudness standards. But basically, like, your mix is good, your mix is clean, okay? So I am like, I quickly become like Uncle Bad Man in like the loudness thing, but there are you know, for like if you wanted this to be like synced to a movie, you know, that's where like the money is, or like a global platform with more reach. And also, more importantly, it's like sonic standards of just like what sounds good. Um, you know, get that dialed in. And then this mix is it's literally DR1. Like so it like when the kick and the bass happens, there is literally no movement between the loudest point and the softest point. This is the flattest sausage I've ever seen, actually. Um, so taste wise, sure, do what you want, but I will caution on just the pure technical side of I mean, my number one sticking point as a mastering engineer would be like, this doesn't sound as good as if it was as if it had room to go in those points. The classic example, the Bobcats like quote, is the difference between an explosion and a jackhammer. An explosion that is like uh 10 dB quieter than the loudest point of a jackhammer will have more impact and appear louder to the human ear because it rises from nothing, it hits its highest point and then goes away. A jackhammer that you hear on the street is louder than an explosion at its like a given explosion at its highest peak, but because it is constantly at its lowest and highest point as it goes, you like walk by the jackhammer going like, that's annoying, but it doesn't startle you in the same way that an explosion does. That's the like poetic psychoacoustic analysis of bobcats. So there's that. First off, it's like, if something can like punch and come from nothing, it can arguably be stronger. And then just on like, so it's like, that's like the art of it. This is the artistry. But then just as far as like how this will affect you out in the real world is, loudness penalty, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you're not going to upload this to a site that has loudness standards, then yeah, like, sure, who cares? But this was to be played out in the real world. All speakers are rated for a peak maximum value and a peak average loudness. Average loudness is significantly less than the peak value. All right. So in like high volume situations in which you are pushing a system to the max, you have to be watching out for tracks that are pinned like this, because they will cross the average rating even if they aren't hitting the peak clip. And in those scenarios in which a track is like pinned this far into it, it's going to be clipping the average loudness, and this is also like more dangerous to speakers. It'll just push them out, and they'll blow. Especially in like electronic music environments where the shows are like very, very long, and you're running your system like kind of to its maximum efficiency for 72 hours at a time. You when you get hired on to work front of house of one of these, it's like that's like in the manual, as it was like the employee handbook, is that like if a track is pinned, you loudless penalize them like on stage. Like this mix would be turned way down in a live context. You would get like real world Spotify loudness penalized on this mix. So that is just like a word of caution, a few examples, and so on and so forth. But the mix is clean, and the mix is good, so you are able to get away. You're able to get away with it to a degree because like the mix is good. But there are like drawbacks down the line. All right, and Graham, I'm going to go ahead and download this. Thank you for the pronunciation guide. I try to do my best. Hold on. Sorry, I'll Graham. 4Z. Your your headphone amp. That's not gonna You gotta just get like a loudness meter in your DAW, because it's clipping it. The wave file is clipping. It's, something like span. The Matt DR is what I personally recommend. And it's because it's the true peaks of, and then that's what's so it's like 4 over, and like if this was put on a streaming platform that has loudness correction or standards, this track would automatically, because it's 4 dB over true peak, and most major streaming platforms want -1 true peak. That means that this is going to get turned down 5 dB just straight away. And then it's going to get further penalized for the lack of dynamic range because of speaker protection and etc. So this would be penalized down to I don't know, -10 dB. And once again, I mean, I understand you're making the mix, and it's just in the EDM world, I understand it's like squash, squash, squash. It's part of the sound, but it's also there are also real world effects of it, and they will play out in many, many scenarios. And it's just something to be aware of. I understand why you're doing it, and I'm not trying to be too much of a grouch, but that is that's the numbers. Okay, Graham, I'm gonna go ahead and take a listen to the track.
Out of this world like the brave little toaster. It's never nothing, so you know what's in my holster. Undefeated with the streak, I feel like Goldberg. Until that 7-headed demon eat the whole earth. Alana be saw, can't see where he saw. Freak off the leash. One finger to y'all, 3 for a phone call. And all you get is downtown and a static buzz. Feel like Daniel Sign, smoking wax, I might act up. Remora hoes, I may have to detach ya. Taylor, nerd, love a girl, where you at? I've been on my shit since Ash ain't had a single cash. Feel like Daniel Sign, smoking wax, I might act up. Remora hoes, I may have to detach ya. Taylor, nerd, love a girl, where you at? Been on my shit since Ash ain't had a single catch.
Forecasters warn of historic and catastrophic.
Me and Allie about to blast off like it's NASA. First dojo on the moon, and we the masters. Matter of fact, first church of rap, and we the pastors. Pass the shit to Allie, and he dumped to smash the backboard. Pass the chalk to me, and I scratch lyrics on the blackboard. Get us on the beat, it's guaranteed to crack your dashboard. Call police on us, and they gon' need a special task force. We'll be having their faces all pressed into the asphalt. Feel like Daniel Sign, wax off, wax on. Make like a hard drive, back up, son. Especially with your mask off. Make your face clearance with my hacks always half off. Now step back before I blast off. Feel like Daniel Sign, wax off, wax on. Make like a hard drive, back up, son. Especially with your mask off. Make your face clearance with my hacks always half off. Now step back before I blast off.
Catastrophic.
Call police on us and they gon' need a special task force. We'll be having their faces all pressed into the asphalt. Feel like Daniel sign, wax off, wax on. Make like a hard drive, back up, son.
Okay. Really catchy song. It sounds good. There's a lot of stuff to like here. So as far as like digging into this mix, so kind of like bottom to top, there could be way more separation between kick and bass, and that's what's going to make it like thump and feel powerful. So separate kick and bass more below 100, and definitely carve space for the kick because we're just not getting any. The oomph of the kick is pretty blocked out by what's going on. And then this mix is really, 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 it doesn't have a lot of energy. It's lacking energy in the low mids, and like a lot of stuff is, it's cool that it's like a cautious thing because it's like sometimes, the low mids are blown out and it's muddy and all that, but there's like no fatness, no fullness. So I would cut some space for the kick, bring some life into the bass in that like 125 to 200 region, get it fat. And then the vocals, there's just like everything is, the vocals are really, really well defined, but they're just basically too hot in the mix. And it's resulting in the mix being like a bit too upper mid-range focused. We're like a little harsh. And it's really just going to be as simple as just bringing the vocals back a little bit because that's where all the energy is. And the joke in audio engineering world is the best mid-range EQ is your fader. Like if you just duck it a little bit, it'll do the trick. The hat is like really, really centered at like 6K or 7K, and it's a little bit harsh, and it doesn't have any like shine gloss like above 10K, and really the whole mix doesn't have anything going on above 10K. And I would just kind of go into each element and add like a little bit of air, a little bit of push up in that top band, kind of like track by track on it so that it can all just kind of push out and like take the blanket off of the speakers a little bit. And that's what I would look for. And then there's that like the pad synth. I'll pull it up.
Like a hard drive, back up, son. Especially with your man.
So the held out like sample synth thing, that's pushed out too far to the sides. It's totally phased out and it disappears in mono. And like I sometimes talk about, like it's high-end information and we can push things into that degree of phasing with varying degrees of success, but because this arrangement is pretty sparse, I mean, there's just like kick, bass, vocals, that synth, and then a hi-hat. If you're losing one of 5 or 6 elements, once it collapses to mono, that's probably too many elements, So I would pull in the stereo image on that synth. And then it's also going to change like how it's perceived in the mix, and then you're probably going to mix around that. And it's also honestly going to help blend the vocals into the mix a little bit more. So I think that's kind of a 2 birds with 1 stone move. And that's basically it. And
had a single cash, feel like Daniel Sand, smoking wax, I might act up. Remoral hoes, I may have.
And it could be like significantly louder, not like crazy, but like 3 clicks louder, as I would say, is about where it could be. It could wind up being louder, and there's a lot of perceived loud. Like right now, there's a lot of perceived loudness because it's so hyped up top in the upper mid range, and that could be discouraging it from pushing a little bit further. So once that all gets balanced out, and we get a little more fullness in the low end, it's going to kind of like once again self-correct a little bit. We're going to get a little more push, a little more average volume, a little more perceived um, oomph. I guess we're not looking for more perceived volume. We're looking for more perceived oomph out of this mix. But that's it. It's really cool. It's a really cool track. And folks, if you're just popping in, this is a ton of open studio here every single night starting about 6 p.m. Eastern. If you would like some fresh perspective on your mix, you can send it to atonuvrecords at gmail.com. There are some guidelines for sending stuff in up at the top of the screen. And yeah, if you're watching on Facebook, thank you for watching. It's awesome to have you here, but I can't really respond to Facebook comments like in time with the video, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to send something, send it to my email and head over to Twitch, twitch.tv/Atonuv. And Graham, yeah, taking notes is awesome. There's also there's the Atonuv streaming YouTube channel, and that hosts the replays of the videos. If you ever need to go back and like, you could slow it down or like watch the thing again, that's always there. Yeah, no problem. And for anyone just popping in, this is a ton of open studio. Warp Whistle, thanks for the follow. Yeah, Graham, absolutely. Send anything you got. And if anyone is just joining in, if you're working on a mix and you would like some fresh perspective, you can send it to atonuvrecords at gmail.com. There are guidelines for sending in stuff scrolling at the top of the screen. If you're watching on Facebook, thank you for watching. It's really awesome to have you. But Twitch works best to chat, and send me an email if you want to send me something. Lost Pool Boy, how you doing? And we had another Blake follow. Thank you. It's awesome. Cool to have new folks in here. Road Genji, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good. It's been a solid stream. It's been a real solid week. Hearing a lot of cool stuff, going through a lot of cool tracks. Cool, Graham, I just got your track. Okay, and this is a rough one. That's awesome. Which is always encouraged. I love hearing early stuff, and we get a lot of that. So the only rule of the stream is keep chat positive and like in the like constructive feedback realm, because we get a lot of people sending in rough stuff, like people who know what they're doing, but they send like demos and stuff. And sometimes we get like somebody's first song that they've ever made. And I really love hearing that stuff. And I think that one of the reasons that people feel comfy sending that stuff is that we keep it like real nice here.
Another type of bouncer accident. A slide collapsed after 8 kids tried to slide down all at once. The rules say one at a time.
I want to be always pivotal. I'm living out this visual. Different strokes for different folks, so I need those 20-inch folks. Never know it's heaven, so I prep myself a hell below 6 digits in the envelope, but I want to be left alone. I want to be always pivotal. I'm living out this visual. Different strokes for different folks, so I need those 20-inch folks. Never know it's heaven, so I prep myself a hell below 6 digits in the envelope, but I want to be left alone. I might have an episode, fuck it, a whole season. I am so ill with flow, check it, I got a fever. My bank account so full, this bitch wanna swipe my visa. This is the new zeitgeist, I'm doing it for the people. Dog, what you staring at me for? Neighbors always snooping through the peephole. My stacks going up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Growing up, I never knew I'd be so.
Cool. And Genji just got your track too. Hey Genji, would you be able to set this to download? I want to like get files from people. It helps me know that it's like actually people's tracks, and it's way easier to play through my routing and stuff. Yeah, so Graham, on this track, first off, again, catchy, and the vocals sound good. And that's what matters in the genre. Really clear and distinct stuff. So, like, stock 808s, like, I love a good 808, but part of the thing is that they're just so heavy in the, like, below 60 region, and they're just not efficient for like getting perceived bass, especially when we're leaning on the 808 as like our sole bit of low end. There is kick sandwich is kind of an option sometimes. It's like 808 from 30 to 60. Oh, I didn't know that I got raided. Thank you. This is the first raid. I didn't get I hadn't even bothered to program like a raid notification. Thank you. Good to have you. So with the so the 808 thing, it's like in a lot of scenarios where the 808 works is the kick sandwich approach, like 808 heavy from 30 to 60, and then kick's gonna live 60, 70, 80, and then you've got bass filling out the 100 to 200, like the fat zone, and then that's kind of riding and everyone's working together that way. In the case where you're just going kick and 808, again, crucial to make sure that your kick and 808 aren't fighting. And then you've got to fatten up the 808 so that it has some presence in the 100 to 200 region, so that we get perceivable low end, and it'll just feel better. It'll work better. It'll groove better, and using something like a Pultec will do the trick, like an analog style EQ that can saturate a little bit when you dial it up, and it'll sound good. So that's like where I would go with this 808. That's where I would go with the 808 generally in this scenario where you've got kicking 808 stuff. And then there is a like room to shine up stuff in the like 4 to 8K region. Like as you go, like just adding little bits of info and love and spice in that region as the mix progresses, and then you'll be in a really good place. Yeah, sweet. Cool. And folks, this is a ton of open studio. I'm here every single night at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you are working on a mix and would like some fresh perspective on it, you can send it to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. It's the email right down there. There are some rules, regulations, and guidelines scrolling at the top of the page. Give those a read. Genji, I've got your link, but if you could make it downloadable or send me a file, that would work best. Cool, Graham. Yeah, super happy to help. Cool. Have a great night. Sometimes while we wait for tracks, it's always good to turn on the old dog cam. There's Guinness. He's cute as heck. And folks, if you are hanging out, catching the stream, this is a ton of Open Studio. I'm here every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm an audio engineer, and if you have been working on some music and want some fresh perspective on your mix, you can send it on over to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. There are some guidelines for what kind of stuff to send, how to send it, why to send it. Scrolling at the top of the screen. Give that a read if you can. Any genre, any style, any stage of production, more than welcome. That's how it works. Cool to be here. Solid Saturday night. And if you are catching this on Facebook, thank you for being here. Cool to have you. Please note that video comments and stuff will not really properly push to me. So head on over to Twitch, twitch.tv/Atonuv. That'll be the most solid way to communicate and send tracks and stuff. All right. Well, it been happening for a second. Calm for now. Let's go ahead and let's see what happens. Sometimes 8 o'clock rolls around and then we get a whole fresh crowd. In the meantime, this is a ton of Open Studio. Send me tracks, so on and so forth. It says it all over. It's Says stuff down there. You know, best thing to do while we wait is to just watch Guinness sleep. That's how I get through my day. And Guinness is the one doing the real service here, providing those necessary bits of dopamine and, just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. Look at them go. All right. If you are just popping in, this is a ton of open studio. I'm Scott. I'm an audio engineer. I'm here every single day, starting at about 6 p.m. Eastern. If you've been working on a mix and would like a fresh look at it, some new perspective, a deep dive on what's happening with your frequency spectrum, we can usually figure out what's up with your workflow. Are you gain staging? Do you even gain stage, bro? We can generally tell just taking a listen to the mix, and what's your monitoring setup like? Let's figure out how to dial in a room, make that next move on your process. Happy to help. Any genre, any stage of production, rough mixes, demos, you name it. Feel free to send stuff to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. You can also just hit !email in the Twitch, and a robot will tell you what to do, so on and so forth. There's that. And then if you're catching this on Facebook, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. But like the description says, Twitch is the best way to send me stuff and talk about your track. So head over there or email me if nothing else is available to you. That's that. And yeah, it's just kind of like every day is about the same to a degree. It's January in Michigan. There is a bunch of snow on the ground. Nothing's happening. Nothing can happen. January. That's where we're at. There will be a single release tie-in on stream later this month. That'll be with Magoo. Wings Dang. What's up? How you doing? Thanks for the follow. I hit 75 follows. That's the mid-January goal. We've done it. Pew, 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 bang, 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 fireworks. That's awesome. What am I doing? So this is uh this is for mixed feedback for people that are working on stuff. If you're a bedroom producer or you have been making stuff for a really long time and want a fresh audio perspective on what it is you're doing, I load it up, I take a listen, and I help people dial in mixes. That's the way that things go. And then while I wait for mixes, I turn on the dog cam and watch Guinness sleep. So it's a service for the people. Yeah, what are you up to? Right on. Well, cool to have you. And yeah, as I was saying, out into the ether, out into the camera. Gonna do a live single breakdown later this month with Magoo. It'll be cool. I don't play Minecraft. Um, I just missed the boat. Never got into it. Hey, if anyone is just popping in, this is a ton of open studio here every single night, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. And if you have been working on a mix and would like a new way of thinking about it, feel free to send it to atonuvrecords@gmail.com, play it on the stream, give it a listen, help you dial in your workflow, your room, some fine points on your mix, top down, bottom to top, mix feedback for the people. That's basically how it works. It's cool to be here, cool to be doing stuff. I guess I'll just plug really, the only thing that I have to look forward to at this point, besides this stream itself, is I just did a record for this really sweet rock band. They're called Magoo, and they will be releasing the first single from it later this month. So once that's all ironed out about like where it'll be premiering and the exact date, etc., etc., they're going to hop on to the stream and talk about recording it. They did a great job like capturing everything in a home studio environment. So we'll deep dive into that. And I'll be pulling up the session, going through the mix, talking about that. So that's going to be really cool. So I'm just plugging that like every like half hour, and that'll be later this month. And I'm like honestly really stoked on it. The album's awesome. It's like, you know, Midwestern rock, kind of like in that, like if you were ever into Cursive, if you're like a 35-year-old dude, uh, you know, big guitar, gnarly stuff. There's like a little bit of like Mike Patton edge to everything. It's a really cool album, and I'm really happy I got to work on it. So that's it. That's my vulnerability. That's my joy, my spirit. And yeah, and this stream, it's mostly just dedicated to popping on, listening to a bunch of really cool stuff from people all over the world. That's amazing. It's been really great. And it's open to anybody. If you've been working on something for a long time, if you're on your 1,000th mix or your first mix of your career, I'm happy to listen to it at any stage of production and just, you know, bounce ideas off of you of where to take it, where to go next. And for anyone just popping in, this is a ton of open studio. I'm Scott. I'm an audio engineer, and I do this every single night. It's just totally based off of doing live mix feedback. Twitcho music. You just chilling? good to have you chilling. But if you've been working on a mix, your first mix ever, or your billionth mix, I'm happy to take a listen and bounce some ideas off of you and help you dial in that mix and see where it could go. Great. I'd love to hear a mix. Email's right there, atonuvrecords@gmail.com. You can type in exclamation point email, and a robot will give you a link as well. Is there any way that you could send me like a file? It's that way I just make sure that it's like people that actually have like ownership over the music, and it's also like routing everything through my system. It's much more possible that way. Yeah, Wave is best, but MP3 will do if that's all you got. Yeah, it's just kind of like my way of. It's always a bummer getting like muted or clapped for copyright stuff, and I also want to like, you know, protect the people. Cool. Awesome. Thanks for digging that up. And for anyone just watching the stream, this is a Ton of Open Studio. I'm an audio engineer, and I do this every single night. It's real fun. I have a great time. We listen to a bunch of cool stuff. If you have been working on something, you can send it to my email, and I will, kind of take a listen to your mix and see what could happen with it, where some things could move around, how it could get optimized, how you could go about mixing your next track in the future, developing some templates or some workflow strategies that are going to make you take less time and get better mixes. That's kind of the deal. That's the pitch. There's also a dog that I can just like watch sleep. Look at him. He's amazing. His name is Guinness. He is the best boy on the whole planet. And yeah, that's a huge part of the stream. Guinness Cam. I mean, basically, we've been doing this for I think this is day 33 in a row, and Guinness will just lay there for 90% of the stream because he loves it. He's a star. And if you are just popping in, this is a ton of open studio. I'm Scott. I do this every single night. I start at 6 p.m. Eastern and go until I can't. And I'm still feeling it. So if you have been working on a mix, maybe your first song you've ever recorded or the zillionth, feel free to send it in and I will help you figure out what the next moves are. And then, we'll listen to it, dial in that mix. Maybe there's just like a frequency point that's just like, kind of underrepresented. And then that's going to lead into figuring out what's up with your room, your monitoring system, and then your entire workflow. And then probably like a fun anecdote about like how much I hate Coldplay that will regularly come up. Sorry, Coldplay fans. Uh, but like begrudgingly, because I'll also admit that like, wow, X and Y, Brian Eno, huh? Pretty good, solid Enoing. I'm conflicted. That's all right, Spock. Thanks for hanging though. I mean, you sent like 300 tracks over the last week, so I think you're good. But hang out, have a good time, but then also like go make some more stuff. Like you could knock the next one out of the park. Yeah, I mean, I understand. I'm sorry to hear that, but it has it it cannot feel good sometimes, that's for sure. All right. So, here we are, a ton of open studio. Happy to be here. There's a file getting tracked down right now, so we'll take a listen to that in a bit. File management is fun. I mean, it's not fun, but once you do it, it does make your life a little bit easier. I've got a big old hard drive on here. I'm just going to talk about how I manage my files, y'all. Like, clip this. This is the content that the world needs. But a big old, like, what do we got here? 6 terabytes. And then I've got my Atonuv mastering folder. So I can open that up, and it's organized by client, and then albums and singles from that client. I can open it up, pull them right up. And then I've got like a naming system. Every single mix is named in a similar cataloging fashion. You know, and my Atonuv mixing folder, just mixing clients. Just really solid stuff. Makes that file finding a little bit easier. So hey folks, this is Atonuv Open Studio. I'm Scott. I'm an audio engineer. I'm here to listen to your mixes and help you figure out where to go with them next. In between mixes, I will talk about how I organize my hard drive or any other thing that kind of pops up, and we can watch Guinness sleep. He rules. He's a super good boy. And it's also the way that the camera is set up. So, like, Guinness is actually down here, but my face in the video is down there. So it's all confusing. Kaido, what's up? How you doing? Solid. Good to hear. Okay, awesome. Yeah, let's check out a gain staged beat. I'm stoked. I mean, it might have felt bizarre, but this sounds so much better. There's so much more low end. Everything is way more balanced. There's way more perceived bass. The kick thumps. The bass carries huge weight. And yeah. I mean, seriously, it's like it's not. I've heard bunches of your stuff, and like I always thought that you're I always thought that it was more, your arrangements were really good and your sound design was always, on point, but there was just that little bit of stuff happening with the mixing process. And seriously, like, it might have felt weird to do the gain staging thing, and we can figure out how to make it feel more powerful on your end, because you want to be able to feel it while you're mixing. But this is literally like 1,000 times better. It's way more pro. It's way more in line with something that I would pull up from someone else. This is awesome. This is really, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not like just making stuff up. It's so much better. Like, everything is way, way, way more in line. Huge step up. And then you could take this and you could master it and you could blow it up. Like, now there's just room to go. Like you would, on the other stuff that you would send something, it would be this full idea. It would be like, very good. But then as far as like, how do we push it to the next level? Well, you just literally can't, because there's no room in the file. But now you got like, just, I'm really thrilled. This is awesome. Okay, so what I would do with this is, your okay, so I wouldn't add like an instrument. I would add some presence and some bite on like the instruments, especially during the heavy parts. So, I'm talking like 1 to 2K on that, and then everything could get lifted a little bit above 10K. Like, just kind of go into tracks and find like where they sound good above 10K and just give them a little bit of life there, and move through there. And this is like really clean. I guess the only thing that I'm going to be like, because this is just so much better, man. Like, at this point in the mix, you're at, so did you mix it and then toss a limiter on it? Because our peaks are hitting like -2, -1. So did you do anything in post, or did it just kind of happen? And yeah, Mason, it was we were talking about gain staging. Oh, okay, amazing. Okay, so basically, okay, so you mixed it, you opened a new project, and you mastered it. This could be way louder. Just in short, so now, like, it's I think that because your mixing process was where you were getting all of your loudness, you probably weren't used to being aggressive on your mastering, but this could just get way louder. Like, I'm gonna do something pretty unprofessional. I'm just going to like, this isn't literally what I would do, but I want to show you like kind of where this could go. So I'm just gonna like, there's a limiter on it. I'm gonna put a limiter on your limiter, and like, this is bad. Okay, like, everyone, I know this is bad. But let's cook this a little bit. Because I don't think... Yeah, so it's so like how to do it is you got to feed into your limiter harder. And also we could get more perceived loudness by doing some compression tricks in the mix, but now that you've achieved this like next level of mixing, like now we can get into some like even cooler stuff. Like that's what's cool. And I'm going to kind of have to ignore chat for a minute so that I can do some of this stuff. I have to turn my screen different. But like so sorry if I miss something for the next few minutes. If anybody in chat, like if anybody pops in and then asks what's up, if somebody else could just tell them that I just can't look at stuff right now, because I'm gonna do stuff. Okay. Okay. Okay, so here's some incredibly non-perfect mastering, okay? So, first off, like, your mix is, like, really, really good, and I don't really need to, like, fix anything. There aren't any problems, so I'm just gonna move on to, like, enhancing. But what I would want to fix in the mix is get some upper mid-range definition on the melody stuff during this heavy stuff. It's a little bit dominated by snare, so that guitar has to come up at like 1.5K. But I'm going to pull up a Pultec, and I'm going to put this all down to 0. Okay, let's turn it on. And let's kick up 60 just a little bit. And then let's go really broad and open up at 16K. Okay, so now we've got like all the atmosphere. Oh, okay. 12K. Now we get a little more sparkle on like the top of everybody. Okay, and then I'm gonna use an SSL, and I've got a limiter at the end of the chain. So I'm just gonna feed into that limiter. And I need to move everything around. Okay. And this isn't gonna be perfect because we're pushing into like streaming and stuff, but where's my compressor boy? Yeah, so it could come up to like this easily. So from like okay, I'm back to chat. Let me get rid of the Hall of Mirrors. display capture off. Okay. And let me get caught back up. Okay, cool, Spock. Cool that you sent something. Yeah, cutting a bit of guitar at 3.5K, absolutely. If that's letting the clap through, but let's get some edge and some definition on the guitar from 1 to 2K. And then that's going to help everything balance a little bit more. So yeah, as far as like basically all I did right there is there's like a little bit of room on the low end because you like gain staged everything and you didn't blow up at like any of your low end in the mixing process. We can actually get it to like really bump and feel like it feels like it's like a little bit too much low end even, but like we can get huge low end and still not like destroy anything, and then get significantly louder. And then as far as the mechanics of making it louder, it was just like limiter at the end, and then I'm using, instead of raising the gain on the limiter, because limiter gain is boring, and this is like vaguely like cork sniffing, but I just used the compressor makeup to feed the limiter and then push the limiter harder. That's it. Makes it louder. So because you exercised like that discipline during the mix, now we can just make the fattest master and just have an absolutely huge sounding track that's like way louder than something that's getting all crammed during the mixing process. So what you could do is go into the So if it starts to saturate, like okay, so like in this situation, I'm not adding any saturation on my end in what I was doing, but it might have been hitting like a broadcast limiter in addition, so it might have been a little bit saturated on your end. But if you start to hear like a degree of saturation that you don't like as you feed into the limiter, then the chance is, and what I think I was hearing as well, is that it was just bringing out some of the saturation from the mix, like in some of the mix elements, and you might learn to just back off saturation in the mix a little bit. Like you're probably being a little bit heavy-handed with those elements, just a little. But yeah. And what limiter are you using? Like, you would also want to make sure that you're using a really, really transparent limiter. I like the Fab Filter limiter. That's why I use it. You can get pretty... Yeah, Ozone 9, make sure that you've got True Peak limiting on. It's not my favorite limiter. Yeah. Don't worry about the SSL. It's fine. Like, tools will get you there no matter what you got. But, yeah, make sure that you've got the True Peak limiter option checked for the ozone limiter. And then I wouldn't use like the maximizer on ozone. I would just put, okay, then you're probably going to be fine. Grab a compressor or something that sounds cool, and then turn it up into the limiter a little bit. And then you're going to get pretty cool results. And then, so in the mix, it's like we can also get some more definition on the instrumental by maybe cutting a little bit on like the snare in that 1 to 2K region, maybe like 1.2K, or maybe a broad bell from 1 to 2K. Cool. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to ceiling at -0.3 dB. That's cool. I can respect that. Minus 12 threshold, that means nothing to me without the like everything in front of me and like in the action. So hard to say if that's the move. Uh but yeah, so basically just feed your limiter harder. That's the overall thing. And I would go into the mix, definition from 1 to 2K, and top end above 10K. Just see what you can add on individual elements. Like I did some on the mix, but the more that you could do in on your end, rather than doing it on the master, it'll sound even better. But it was like I was finding stuff at like 12K that really, really brought out like a great like sheen gloss to the whole thing. So if you went through and just added, be very, very be pretty conservative in that area, but just give everyone a little bit of spice and love up above 10K and kind of, spread it around and make good decisions and see what good sounds good where. But like your ears are great, so I think you'll do great. You could get a little more compression in the mix rather than doing it on the master. Uh, there's room to actually squeeze stuff a little bit more. So what I would do before we get into any sort of crazy like compression schemes, it's just a matter of like go into each individual compressor and just be a little more like just turn the thresholds down like one click. Just do a little more on your compression in each thing. We're just trying to dial in a new way of you doing things because you're just on the verge of really, really, really improving. So, be a little less aggressive on the saturation because I think that maybe that was leaned on too heavily in the past, and now we're getting a little bit of those saturation elements up when we bring this to broadcast level. So just little bit less on the saturation and a little bit more on compression. We're talking about just a like nudging things around at this point. But yeah, huge, huge improvement. Like really, I mean, like huge. I'm like so happy to see something this like stark and dramatic happen. And then we'll figure out how to make it feel powerful on your end when you do it. Because cool. And Spock, I see your email. I'm gonna go ahead and open up like the latest one, and then if I have like questions about where it came from, I'll go into some of these earlier revisions. And if anyone, oh, do I have to go through every single? I'll go through from the beginning. Um, if anyone is popping in, just this is a ton of open studio. I'm an audio engineer. I do this every single day. If you are working on something with like a fresh perspective on your mix, then I'm happy to listen to it. Any stage of production, any style, you can send it to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. There are guidelines for sending stuff in up top. Give those a read. And yeah, that's how it is. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through the generations of Spock's mixes right here. I will start from the beginning and go to the end. And yeah, Mason, I was talking about gain staging with Kaido. And next time we meet up, I can definitely dial in some gain stage stuff with you as well. I think it would be great for you to do. I gotta turn this limiter off. Really, really cool. A little heavy from that like 30 to 120 region, and then a bit scooped in the low mids and mids, but not drastically. And everything sounds good. It's probably a little bit saturated on the percussion, and I would dial that back a hair. 5 and then 8. Okay. Actually getting some mid-range definition there, but crazy hot. The battle. You just cranked up the low end, and also it's clipping. So no pass go on the clipping. I like the little melody flourishes there. It's not clipping anymore, but we'll talk about that. And then we're a bit scooped on the mids again. And this is it without a lead. Yeah, so that kick is like really, really dominating in the mids, and there's no thump, and I feel like it might be like a matter of lining up phase on kick samples or carving out more space for some kick thump. And here's 21. Yeah, so we're missing that kick thump, getting eaten by bass a little bit, and also maybe we have some phase collision on like kick samples. The kick is dominating the mix like all the way up into the upper mids, and then it's kind of like taking up space where the clap could be. So it's like the clap's kind of not there. And that could just like 1 to 2K on the kick could go away a little bit, and then clap could live there. And there's kind of like some baked in clipping in the mix. Even though the mix isn't clipping, we have audible clipping. And like basically, it's kind of like your process. We've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 iterations. And it's like in the second iteration, all of a sudden it's clipping. And then all of a sudden, it's like we're not hitting a consistent target. And, you gotta start from the beginning with a more a targeted value, and then kind of constrain yourself to it, because I think that it kind of seems like if I was being like an archaeologist here, it's like everything got blown up a little bit, and then things got dialed back, and it's like totally working better, but we're still left with some like clippy artifacts later on in the thing. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. And it's not that scooped by the end of it. It's just that like I would generally like, there's a lot of stuff happening in that like 30 to 90 region that's not doing that much for the mix, because it's kind of like stepping on each other. So there's like, it's overrepresented from 30 to 90, but it doesn't feel like a bottom heavy mix. It feels mid-rangey. Because you're letting like the kick dominate the mid range. So like, take care of that, leave some room, get some thump, and then redistribute some of that mid range information that's in the kick into like instruments and stuff. And then it'll sound fatter, fuller, etc., etc. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's a cool track. Yeah, thank you, Spock. And folks, if you are hanging out, this is a Ton of Open Studio. I'm here every single night. I start at about 6 p.m. Eastern, and then just go until I don't want to anymore. And I'm still feeling like listening to tracks or hanging out. If you're working on something and would like some fresh perspective, I'm happy to give it a listen and help you figure out where to take your mix or your next mix or the mix after that. We had someone was tracking down a file from a video a while back, so holding out hope that that file shows up. Everyone's great, having a good time. Let's see. So, let me just run down the usual stuff. So, Magoo live mix session, end of the month, gonna be sweet. More details as they figure out when they can do it. There is the golden rule of the stream, which is keep chat positive and in construction feedback zone, because we get a lot of people who send in like rough mixes or their first mixes of all time, and I love hearing that stuff. I want to keep it a nice space to feel comfortable doing that. There is a bunch of tabs down at the bottom of the Twitch page. There is, I don't know, let's go look at it. Okay, so there's the patron promo page. I'm building that. So folks who help out with the Patreon, there is a web page where their links are displayed. And right now we've just got Synux's link. I will track down. So like I need stuff from Mason, Ian, Tyler, and Elias. And you can update it at any time. And I also think that I want pictures, because if it's just a page of bare links, I think it'll be boring. Send me pictures of your dogs. There's the 30 to 60 hertz tab, and there's just a video talking about why we shouldn't overrepresent right there. There is a Discord. You can hop on the Discord. There's, I think, 15 people on it right now, so it's starting to rock on Discord. Spock, absolutely, send another one. There is a tips page, which is for the Mr. Guinness Treat Fund. The Atonuv weekly playlist is new. I'm putting together a Spotify playlist, and I'll update it on Fridays. And I think it'll also be cool to do a like community playlist alongside it. So whenever anyone wants to make a playlist, I'll post it here. And we can all kind of like listen to stuff. And there's the link to the Patreon, a link to Sound Gym, which I think is awesome. And I think that everyone should go do some Sound Gym stuff, and then like my webpage. Neat. Look at that content. I don't know. Anyone else got anything cool going on? Just general things in life that they're stoked on? Yeah, it's mid-January. You know, I'm just hoping. I'm hoping that someone. Yeah, more people would be sweet. Yeah, this is actually a really solid sonic start. Sounds huge. And I like what you're doing. The only thing that I would do with this as it is it's pretty dark. And it needs shining up on the top end. And it also has a ton of garbage below 30 that I would just like chop out. 20 to 30, maybe 25, and just like high pass that out and then move from there. And I think it could be really sweet. Yeah. Well, that sounds great. Yeah, I mean, it being pitched down doesn't mean, it still has to be mixed. Like we can't have a bunch of stuff down in the unaudible range that just eats up headroom, and then you brighten it up, like you're moving everything down, but then you brighten everything up artificially. And hey, if you are hanging out or just popping in for the first time, this is a ton of open studio. I do this every single night. You know that I share my lives to Facebook, Spock. You make fun of me for sharing it to Facebook. You know this. And if you're watching on Facebook, just know that it's not a. Uh-huh. Nah, I mean, Facebook is like, it's getting shared to like 75 groups at this exact moment. It is all over Facebook. But also, yeah, I mean, it's all over Facebook. It's there. And yeah, I mean, honestly, the traffic on Twitch is much better. And the chat functions and the userability, I'd rather just work with something that is fun to work with. So that's why I send people over to Twitch. So, folks, if you're hanging out, I will listen to whatever you're mixing, help you figure out where to take that mix, what to focus on, what are trouble spots that show up in multiple mixes, how to work around it, what to look for in dialing in your room and your system. And then, whatever esoteric road that discussion leads me down. And all you got to do is send a track to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. That email address is at the bottom of the screen. There are some guidelines, regulations, rules, suggestions on what to send, how to send, and why to send it. Scrolling at the top of the screen. Give that a read, and I will listen to your track. Hope everyone's doing great, and so on and so forth. And from a while back, we had a... Yeah, Spock, that's fine. You've provided much wood to the fire. You're good. Nah, that's not really what I do. It's just about like mix feedback and like audio engineering. How to make it sound good. But I'm sure that there are people like that pop on this stream that are great at making beats. Uh Nah, like in my life I am just uh just an engineer, but like I said, like if you hang around, a lot of people send in stuff that are excellent beat makers, and uh you might meet somebody who can help you out. Yeah, no problem. So for anyone just popping in, this is a ton of open studio. I'm an audio engineer. I'm here every single night starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I just kind of go until I don't feel like it anymore, and I still feel like doing it. So if you've been working on a track, might be your first song ever, might be your infinity 10th to the power of 10th degree mix of all time. It's all welcome here. You can send it on over to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. It's the email address right down there. You could also type in !email, and a robot will tell you what to do. There are guidelines for stuff up at the top of the screen, and I'm happy to listen to anything at any stage of production, any style, any genre, rough mixes, final mixes, masters, and I'll help you dial in your mix and figure out what your next moves are. And let's go ahead and between tracks, I turn on dog cam. We can watch a dog. Solid pup. And always available to like answer questions in chat. I've helped people figure out gear buys and like plug-in choices, so on and so forth. That happens. Hey, Spock, take care of yourself and hope you feel better. Thanks for sending in all the stuff. And if you are just hanging out or just joining, I'm here every single night. This is for like it's dedicated to top-down mix feedback. I'm a mastering engineer, so this is always the first step of working with a client. People send in tracks, and before I just go like, let's take out my cool EQ or whatever, I do a critical listen to whatever's in front of me and uh, figure out what's going to be best addressed in the mix and, keep it super, super technical. Like the snare will work better in the mix if it was brought out a little bit at 200, specifically the snare, rather than trying to like sneak it on the master. And it's like that first bit of client feedback that is the most important stage in the mastering process, I think. That is my philosophy. And so I do this for clients, and it's a satisfying part of the job. And then I realize that whole part of it, it's kind of ephemeral. It goes in an email, and it's like the part of my process that's my favorite part. Then I realized that I could do it live on stream. So that's the gist of it. That's the motivation, the superhero origin story. And that's the way that it functions. So if you've been working on something, this is like basically like the first step of getting something mastered. And also, I have clients that send me stuff like it's like basically exactly like this. there are people that I work with regularly, so they send me stuff while they're still like recording or mixing. And it's always awesome to get to be able to weigh in on it before it's done, because then there are less issues to address like once it comes. So it's like if you're working with a mastering engineer regularly, uh, most of them would be happy to get an email from you earlier in the production process rather than like, hey, the album needs to be done and I need it to be done like kind of now. Most of us would love to hear from people, a little ways beforehand and like during the production process. We love like the whole part of audio. So if you've been working on something and would like a new way of thinking about your mix, you can send it to my email at absolutely any time. I do this every day, and it's really fun. It starts around 6 p.m. Eastern and then goes until it kind of stops going. It's been a pretty solid day. It's been a minute since we've had something, but also we're getting like a steady. I love like seeing new people in the stream. It is awesome. Not gonna lie. Like once we have an abundance of people, it'll be its absolute most fun because basically I am dependent upon the thing that is in front of me. Otherwise, it's just kind of like this level of pontification. But we do get to watch. Look, he's cleaning his paws. Guinness is at it. He's a champ. He's delivering the goods. Such a cutie. But yeah, that's it. I talk about like what the stream is and my dog. And once we hit more people, then it's going to be more audio all the time. It could become, I dare say, a ton of audio, which is the silly name. I fixed my furnace today. Pressure valve was bad. That's it. Those are my bits. Those are my best bits. And let's see. Kaido. Cool. Like an immediate update. That rules. Cool. And did he do any adjustments to the mix? Cool. Yeah, it's definitely more filled out. Yeah, I mean, this is the best thing I've heard you do. There's like what I would love is if you just did like a few things. You know like kind of like work through a few tracks using this methodology and just get more and more familiar with it cuz this is really really good. Um and now we're kind of like in that like practice makes perfect stage. I think that like if you just start to get more and more comfortable doing things this way, it's going to open up a lot of stuff. And then as far as like dialing this in, like this track in particular, it's kind of like and okay. I would put a de-esser on the hat at about like 6K and just like and since you have ozone, you could use like the ozone dynamic EQ and like 6K and just like pull the hat back like at the peaks of it like 1 or 2 dB. Like not that much, just a little bit. Because like you've kind of like smoothed out the high end, but now the hat's a little bit overrepresented. So just like DS the hat a little bit. It'll most likely sound good. I wouldn't necessarily put more compression on the master. I would just use a little more compression throughout the mix, from track to track. I would still say that. And then like I'm sorry to say like this is I don't love the ozone limiter because like this is clipping a little bit. Like we're at a true peak 0.3. So we're like 0.3 over 0. The ozone limiter just doesn't catch stuff. So it's already clipping a little bit, and you also haven't, it could still be louder. Like, we're not getting the stuff. And, like, that's the unfortunate thing. Like, stuff, money. And as far as, like, I'm more concerned with your mixing than mastering, because your mixing just took a huge leap forward. And then mastering is like a whole other thing, and it's a whole other tool set. And, no, I mean, I wouldn't feel bad about it. Like, your mixes rule. Uh, Such a good mix. But I don't want to. I don't want to get too in the weeds of like this is how to make it louder, because it's like the more important thing is getting a good mix, and then making it louder. That's a whole other thing. And it's less important than the very very good mix, and that's where you're at. You're at very very good mix. So I feel like the mix is way more dialed in. It could be just like moment to moment, a little like just a little more heavy handed on the like another notch on the compression from track to track. And yeah, think more about the mix. Absolutely. Pull that hat back a little bit and then do some more tracks, cuz this is awesome. It's I mean, it's really really it's a huge difference. And you're doing the headphone mix and everything, and eventually you're going to have a room that's dialed in. Like, that's going to happen sometime in your life, and then you'll be able to like fully appreciate the huge difference that this is making. I know that it's hard right now, like within like headphone world, to like appreciate the thing, but I'm definitely telling you that like in space, this is just absolutely massive. Totally. Okay, folks, this has been a ton of open studio. Closing in on a pretty long stream here. If anyone has anything left, I would definitely take a listen. But I'm going to go ahead and probably put like, we'll say like 5 minutes. If we don't get a thing in the old inbox, I'll probably call it a night, and I'll be back tomorrow. But yeah, let's put yeah, say like 5 minutes. See what fate hands us. Oh, thanks for the follow. Cool, no worries. I do this every night. Starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, and whenever you know, I understand computer troubles. It can be a real bummer, and yeah, absolutely. Whenever you get that, I will take a listen happily. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's really fun to do. I started doing it this summer, and then my internet totally went out on me, and I had to take a couple of months off. But then, been right back into it, and I think that this is like the 34th day in a row, and it's been really awesome. Really cool people coming through, hearing a lot of really cool stuff, and it's been a great way to spend some time. Great. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it for the night. So, yeah, everyone, have a good one. See folks tomorrow.